Hiya, I hope you're keeping well. Today I'm going to do like a khaki green, really quick smoky eye and show you a few bits that have come up in questions recently. So I'm going to start with a little bit of MAC Strobe Cream, the gold version. Bit of news for you, MAC is going to be launching into Boots. How good will that be? I just think it's one of those things that we all go to Boots, don't we? And it's so handy to have something like MAC that I would imagine 9 out of 10 people have got in their makeup bag, if not 10 out of 10. So I think that'll be really lovely for them. It's not going to be the whole range because there's obviously millions of things, but like a real capsule edit of the things that you'd be likely to need a top up of. So there we go. Just going to put a bit of CC cream on. And then one of the things I want to talk about today actually, so I asked on a message a while ago on Instagram stories which kind of things you wanted to see a tutorial on, and I've been trying to work my way through the suggestions. And one of the things that has come up so much is makeup for mature skin. Now, I don't want you to think I'm avoiding the question or that I haven't done a video for mature skin, but really the reason for that is I don't actually believe in changing anything for a certain age. I think that depending on, you know, whether you're a bit dry or a bit oily, you might want to switch things up, or perhaps your eye shape, you might change the technique depending on what your eye shape is like. I've had lots of messages about hooded eyes and I will absolutely work towards those. But when it comes to, you know, makeup for mature skin, say, I don't think there's any rules that you have to change just because you've reached what you feel is a certain age. You know, have fun, enjoy whatever colours you think suit you. I say that to everybody, you know. One of the things as well, I think any makeup artist will attest to, is that you get asked, okay, I've got blonde hair and blue eyes, which colours will work for me? And I just don't believe in any of that. If you feel good in it and it makes you feel nice and you feel special when you're going somewhere, then it's the right colours for you. Now, that'll do me for now. I might build that coverage up a little bit more. I'm going to check the mirror. I always say this to you, don't I? That sometimes it's only when I check the little mirror I notice the difference. Okay, I'm going in with a bit of Nars eyeshadow primer on both of my lids. And another thing actually I asked in those messages was, are there any brands that I don't talk about? And you sat there thinking, well, hang on a minute, why haven't we seen this one? And Marc Jacobs was one of them. Quaylon had said that to me, one of my friends. Another couple of people had asked about the eyeliners, because I feel like the eyeliners from Marc Jacobs get so much attention and they are lovely. So that's the palette I'm going to use today. Now, eyeshadow primer wise, you know me and primers, they don't often come into the equation. I do think with an eyeshadow primer, in particular that Nars one, it makes such a difference in terms of how long your makeup holds. So I've buffed that on. I'm going to take my setting powder. While I'm there actually, I'm just going to powder that T-zone. This is the IT Cosmetics one, the Bye Bye Pores. And to be fair, if you struggle with any kind of texture on your complexion, it will just blur over it really quickly. So I'm going over some of those little areas. I'm setting that primer right away. It dries to a kind of slightly tacky finish, which is great with some shadows, but with others, it might cause them to clump as you're buffing them on, and I want a really seamless buff. So I've just set that dry before I go any further. What kind of brush am I going to use? This is the Real Techniques Deluxe Crease brush. And if I show you, these are the little colours I'm using. Oh gosh, you can see everything. Mum's little cupboard of trinkets there. So I'm just going to start, let me take my big mirror back, with a kind of soft brown. Oh gosh, what have I done here? Right. That was the wrong brush, just stay with me. Gonna buff that right out. Do you know, in fairness to me, I actually saw that that was wrong and carried on. So I've got no one to blame for that but myself. But like a bit of me thought, oh, if I just carry on here, I'm gonna be able to make that work. Absolutely not, hun. Right. Have I near enough salvaged that? That's fine. To be honest, luckily, that was only going to be a little base, which is why I am going to actually have the brass neck to go and do the same on the other side. And in an ironic plot twist, I think the reason that happened is because my eyelid kind of drooped a bit, which meant that it pressed into two places. After my little TED talk about why I don't think you need to change anything, what I will say, in fairness, but I don't think that's necessarily a mature skin thing. I think it's more of an eye shape thing. If you do have a slightly more hooded eye, or like my eye has started to drop a bit, there are different ways that you might want to approach putting your shadow on. Now this, what I'm doing today, is going to be quite smudgy, so I'm not that bothered. But leave it with me, and because I did this yesterday evening in a group. Lee Pycroft and Lisa Oxenham have a lovely group on Facebook called I'm Back. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But anyway, we did a live masterclass and I showed how really you want to tailor where you're putting your product looking forward on if you've got a bit of a hooded eye, because it's all very well me looking into this mirror, but then it looks completely different when you look straight on. But we're going to save that for another day because I'm desperate to use this eyeshadow palette. So I'm going to take the green, the khaki green. Now this is kind of like a pressed shimmer and it's going to work best with your ring finger. Sometimes with these kinds of shimmers, they're so densely pigmented that if you picked it up with a brush, it might not actually pick up and you'd be there forever building it. But if you see with my ring finger, that just goes on like a dream. Now, I'm not a huge green person. It's just not my cup of tea, green. I just don't think it does anything for me. However, this khaki is kind of somewhere between green and gold, so I can make an exception for it. I'm going to try that, dare I go back for more eyeshadow mishaps, on a little pencil brush and press it into the back of my hand before I go in under my eye. I would ideally like to pull some of that under here. That's not so bad. I think in hindsight, I should have put some of that brown under there and then gone over with the green glitter, but I've done it now. And I just want to pull some of that underneath. Lovely. Now, do you remember a while ago I did that Spotlight Smokey Eye, where you essentially add a strip of brightness to the centre of the lid? I'm going to do a similar technique again, because there's a kind of glittering gold in this same palette. So I'm literally going to take my ring finger, I've been wiping it off on a tissue. I'm going to take a bit of this gold and then literally press a little slice of that, if you can see, down the centre of that lid. I think to really grunge it up a bit, I am happy with that. I want to go back in with a little bit more of that soft brown. I'm tapping all the excess off on my hand. Get my little doll mirror. And I want to make sure up here is kind of framed with a bit more brown. I'm putting the colour on with that brush and blending it out with this softer one. Yeah, that feels nice. The nice thing about this is I don't need it to be too polished. I want it to actually look quite grungy. So I'm not going to stay here all day making sure it's absolutely even. But again, top tip, it's all very well it being nice in my hand mirror, but I want it to be nice for whoever I'm looking directly at. There we go. Okay, I'm going to absolutely speed on here because I'm taking my time. Little khaki green liner from this Marc Jacobs lineup. Now, the Marc Jacobs liners, like I mentioned, they're really creamy. So they glide on really easily, but they do set quite quickly. So you haven't got a lot of playtime. And I'm just going to take that in this inner line. Makes it all a bit more defined, but it's not too dark. You know the score here. I've got to be careful of my lenses. There we go. I've got a new Marc eyeshadow, eyebrow pencil. I'm going to just take that through. This is really clever. It's 1 part pencil, 1 part little mascara. In fact, I'm just going to use the mascara because I think that'll be softer for this kind of grungy feel. I'm going to take off any excess and then brush those up. There we go. And then anywhere that, if you can see there, I've had a bit too much product on, I'm just going to gently go over again and soften it out. That'll be fine. Lovely. Now, guess who we're doing the mascara of? There we go. You wanted to see Marc Jacobs quail on? You've got your Marc Jacobs. I've never used this before, but in fairness, one of my things I would say to you about any mascara, it always seems to be better about a week after you've opened it. So this is all very well, but I'm going to let it have a few wears before I really make a decision on how good I think it is. And then complexion wise, I'm going to keep it really simple. Charlotte, you'd asked me about the new Nars Bronzers. To be honest with you, for bronzer or blusher, I don't really think you can go wrong at all with Nars. I think that's 2 things that they do really well, especially blushers. I think they've got a really good mixture of completely matte, some with shimmer, some with literal glitter in them, so you can't really go wrong. I'm going in with this, it's called Paradise Found, but I believe it's essentially very similar to Laguna, one of their most iconic blushes, but when you first get it, it's got a slight dusting of gold on it, but literally within the first couple of wears, that's gone. So you're pretty much just left with a nice large Laguna that you're going to get a lot of use out of. And to be honest, the dusting of gold is nice as like a little treat for yourself when you look at it in the pan, but it's not something I'd actually be wanting on my skin. So it's a nice little indulgence when you've bought it, but you are better off that it's out of the way. Okay, and then I'm going to keep my lips really simple. They're a bit dry today. I've got this Honest Beauty, like a multi-purpose balm. So I'm just going to put some of this on my lips. It's one of those that you can use on like cuticles, you know, as a highlighter, things like that. Might put a tiny bit of lip liner. And then I saved this for last. These are coming soon from It Cosmetics. They're absolutely lovely. Little stick highlighters. And they feel really cool when you put them on. That's the rose gold one. I'm actually going to rub it onto the back of my hand and then just use my ring finger. I hope there's no eyeshadow left on there. We'll soon find out. Just gives the loveliest, like, healthy skin look. And even though it looks quite high shine, I mean, don't get me wrong, it is high shine, but if you go in with your ring finger nice and gently, I kind of learned that because I have to do that anyway, so that I don't disrupt my coverage, but it just gives you a lovely fresh finish. But there you go, nice little grungy green. I hope you enjoyed and I will talk to you soon.